I firmly believe that people is the most important asset. People are your team, but also there is people in partners, there is people in customers. The business is about people, and how do you bring people together? How do you execute?
Alrighty, hello everyone and welcome to the Deal Maker Show. So today we have one of those founders that I call tier zero, which are like absolutely unbelievable, very hard to come across. And in this case, his journey and his story is quite inspiring. We're going to be talking about building, scaling, financing also, like with his latest baby. And then also acquisitions. He's done it, quite not just once, but twice on the full cycle. And again, everything, that you can think of, whether it's building the team, why people are so important, how to build a culture around them to really get them excited about the future that you're living into, all of the good stuff. So brace yourself for a very inspiring conversation. And without further ado, let's welcome our guest today, Tarun Raisoni. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Alejandro.
So originally born in the U.S., but it sounds like your family went to India and you grew up there. So how was life growing up for you?
It was actually pretty amazing growing up in India. I was surrounded by a lot of family, and we grew up in a small town, and it was very nice to be really rooted into that family culture, into learning. So I really enjoyed my childhood in India.
So how do you get into the whole problem solving, Tarun? I know also that in India there's quite a lot of pressure on the culture to either become a doctor or to become a something that an engineer, right? I think that things are obviously changing. In Spain it was the same thing with either being a lawyer or a banker or a consultant, but in India was either being an engineer or being a doctor. In your case, you ended up becoming an engineer out of all things.
Yeah, I ended up choosing the path that my dad took, and I grew up in an engineering family. So I was surrounded by a lot of engineers in the family, and it just naturally gravitated towards that. I did end up choosing different majors. Ended up doing chemical, ended up doing electrical for my masters. So it was fun to learn, and I can see the application of all of that in my career journey as I moved along.
So you did your undergrad there in India, but then it took no time to come back to the US. Now, when you came to the US, there was a lot going on, with the dot-com boom and all of that stuff, which made you really think through, in terms of choices and options for you. So walk us through what were you seeing, what happened, and what kind of switch of path you did there.
Yeah, I came to US in '99, and obviously there was a huge dot-com boom going on here. After a couple of weeks, I realized I really need to put my heart and my mind behind this, because this is the future. And I ended up switching my majors at USC to electrical engineering. I finished my master's and then ended up joining Cisco. That was my starting point of my career. And at that time, Cisco was one of the largest companies, the largest company in the world. Networking was very much front and center for every business. And it was an amazing journey at Cisco. 10 years at Cisco, got to learn a lot about the business culture, enterprise scale. So it was phenomenal to be part of that.
So, after being for so long there, what made you think, hey, maybe I should turn page and go to like a place like Emerson? It's 10 years. It's like almost like becoming a lifer. Emerson. Why Emerson?
Yeah, Alejandro, that's a very good question. So um, Cisco is not just one company. Cisco is like an industry of 200 companies, 50 companies in it. So my career at Cisco was I started as a software engineer, but I transitioned into pre-sale systems engineering and then into sales. And it was a very interesting journey. So I agree with you. 10 years seems a long time, But I think 10 years is also the time that it takes to actually learn and build something in your career. So and then Emerson came along and they offered me a role to work in the data center business, managing some of their hyperscale, what we call as hyperscale today, but what was called as Web 2.0 customers in the Bay Area. And the opportunity was very interesting. I got a chance to work with companies like Google and Facebook back then, Yahoo, Microsoft, Amazon. So it was very hard to refuse that kind of an opportunity, and that's what helped me build my career. So
So then let's talk about too the moment where you realize you want to take ownership of your own future. And especially after all these years being an employee, switching to becoming an entrepreneur. I mean, it's quite frightening, no? Because all you knew was the 9 to 5. So at what point, were you like, hey, maybe I wanna do something on my own?
even when I was working, I never believed in a 9 to 5, and I think I realized, like, since I don't believe in 9 to 5, I need to do something on my own. And uh, it so happened that I was having lunch with one of my clients, and he mentioned about a specific gap in the industry where nobody was trying to solve that problem. And a light bulb went in my head, and I said, "This is the opportunity to solve this problem." And so that's where we started Rahi Systems, and that was my first entrepreneurial journey, and it was a lot of fun building that up.
Now with Rahi Systems, I think that just so that people get it, what was the business model there? I mean, how are you guys making money?
Yeah, so Rahi was started on the premise of helping clients build data centers globally. So we focused on how we could scale a client to build data centers in multiple countries globally and be able to provide the same consistent service, supply chain, product in all those countries globally. And that was our main focus area as a platform. And the idea behind that was very simple. If you are going to build a data center, you're going to build a data center across the globe. You're not just going to build a data center in one country or one city. And when we started this, it was back in 2012. Cloud was very nascent. In fact, Google Cloud didn't even exist in its entirety back then. So it was a very interesting time for us to kick this off and start this. And uh, we were very lucky that cloud took off, data center build out took off. So we were able to ride that wave of growth with customers as they grew their business.
Now I know that for you, people is critical, no, and obviously the way that you were able to surround yourself here, being a first time founder too, was phenomenal. So tell us about people. Why are people so important especially in hyper growth companies?
Yeah, in technology companies or companies that service technology companies, I firmly believe that people is the most important asset. And in my opinion, people are your team, your own company, but also there is people in partners, there is people in customers, and the business is about people. And how do you bring people together, and how do you execute? Um, at Rahi, we started the business with like about 7 or 8 people in the first year. And at the end of the 10-year journey, we were almost 1,200 employees globally. And what I realized in that journey was uh, authentic leadership, being transparent, building the right culture foundation, staying customer focused, and then driving that culture with the team is very important to scale and grow the business. So people is the most important asset, and I think that was the foundation for our company as we built along.
And what about culture too? Because obviously getting all the people to dance with the same moves, the same song, getting them that excited when it comes to the execution of pushing through towards the future, and that future that you're living into is essential. So, how do you think about culture, whether it was with Rahi or with the next companies that you built?
Yeah, absolutely, Alejandro. Culture is the most important fabric that brings people together. And the values of the culture in a company are designed and need to be designed in such a way that they help resolve conflicts that typically originate between people. Uh, so, a very simple example, one of the values of our culture is customer first. And why is this customer first? It's so we can prioritize our day, we can prioritize our work around making sure that we are delivering something to our customers first, and then doing all the internal prioritization of the work second, right? So it's very important to have these values, and at Rahi, we were able to stitch these values. I followed that through in the second company, and I'm following that through in my third company as well. I think that is a very, very important aspect. And culture flows top down. The leadership has to embrace the culture, the leadership has to show the values of the culture, and then only the entire organization will embrace it. Empowerment goes bottom up. So you have to empower the team at the bottom layer, at the most individual contributor level, and then that flows all the way to the top. So I think culture is very important from a leadership point of view.
So let me ask you this too, because while you were pushing for Rahi, I mean, it's unbelievable. You got started with another company in parallel that you founded too, you co-founded as well, called CPE Systems. So how did this come together? I mean, you're already super busy, pushing Rahi systems, and then you decided to complicate your life a little bit more with pushing something else in parallel.
Yeah. So ZPE systems um, was something that was started based on a premise that data centers needed a lot of software automation. And I had this chance of working with two brilliant engineers at Emerson, and we were just having a meal, and this idea came about where, hey, we need to go do this, and we need to build this software automation. And given my experience and background with data centers, I said, yeah, I absolutely believe in it. And I was very happy to write the first few checks to help support that initiative, and then also take it to the market. And every business, every idea needs customers. So it just so happened that I found the right co-founders, and we were able to go execute on ZPE, and we were able to scale that business. And the good part was it gave us a lot of exposure into how to really build some world-class software for companies.
Now, for both companies, whether it was Rahi or CPE Systems, you didn't raise any money, and you were pushing both for over a decade. I'm sure that over that decade there were a lot of investors that were knocking on your door, especially when things were going well, to invest in your business. So why bootstrapping versus maybe taking some money to continue to scale those companies?
Yeah, Alejandro, it's interesting. Actually, I would have loved to take money. The problem was nobody was ready to give money, and we wanted to go execute this idea, so we bootstrapped the company. And after we bootstrapped the company, uh, the business just continued on a growth path of really sequentially 40-50% growth year over year. And along the way, I was fortunate enough to have really great talent and team members join us. And the thought of raising money never struck us after that. The thought really that came to us was, how do we scale the business further, right? Um, so it wasn't like I didn't want to raise money. It was like when I started the company, and given that we were a services company, and Valley VCs are very interested in product based companies for the right reasons. We couldn't raise money, so we just decided to bootstrap it.
Now, you bootstrapped all the way to the end on both, and eventually both got acquired. We got Rahi acquired by Wesco for 270 million. Also, CPE acquired by Legrand for 295 million. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, doing it once, as they say, once you're lucky, twice you're good. So, tell us about how did both of those acquisitions come together, and also timing. Why, when you were growing like crazy, like you were saying, why doing an exit on both companies?
Yeah, uh, it's an interesting timeline when you bootstrap a company and you grow it to a certain scale. After a certain scale, um, we realized that we needed a bigger platform in order to really service and support customers. Also, we firmly believed in equity sharing with our team. So we had a lot of employees that were with us from day one, that were on this 10-year path, and a liquidity event was very desirable for them. So both the aspects came into play, which is how do we make this a bigger platform, and how do we generate some liquidity so that our team members can enjoy the benefit of building this platform to that certain scale. And in both the companies, we were very lucky that we found the right partners, the right platform, the right acquisition, and the right ability for employees to enjoy out of that, the team members to enjoy out of that. So those were the primary reasons why both the exits happened.
Well, after both exits, bootstrapped, it's all to the co-founders. I'm sure that it was quite the celebration. But we're gonna keep that private. I'm not gonna ask you what was that thing that you always wanted to buy that you ended up buying. Maybe we'll leave that for a part two, type of episode. But I guess one thing that I want to ask you is, as they say, once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. And in this case, instead of retiring, and going and enjoying life, you decided to again, spot a trend, spot the craziness that is happening in the AI space, and you decided to bring to life another baby, and that baby is called Groove. So, walk us through how you were thinking about this problem, how, in this case, now being a successfully exited founder, where you know how the full cycle looks like, how did you really go about taking action and being like, we got to tackle this one?
Yeah. So after the exit of Rai happened, I started thinking about an area, and I actually ended up going back to Stanford to take a few courses in renewable energy and sustainability. Because one thing that became very clear was data centers were going to need a lot of power, a lot of energy. And I started thinking to myself, how are you going to do this in a sustainable manner, so that you can scale, but also make it cost efficient? And so my first idea was, hey, let's go build a renewable energy company that can scale and support this energy demand that is coming across all aspects of electrification and digitization going in our lives. Um, After spending almost 6 months learning through that and then looking at everything, Chat GPT happened. Okay, and this generative AI was also very interesting. And when I started studying, so I took 4 months off and I spent a lot of time, a little bit traveling, spending with time with family, but also studying about what is the place where the next wave of innovation is going to happen. And one thing I realized was enterprises are going to want to adopt AI over the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, there is a saying that there is not a company that does not have data anymore. Every company is a data company. Every company is a technology company. I feel the same way. Every company is going to be an AI company. But to get to that, to become that AI company, enterprises are going to need a lot of help. Enterprises are very good at what they do. But when it comes to like building the technology stack, leveraging the technology stack, they need a lot of help. And so this entire concept around how do we enable AI within an enterprise? How do we make an enterprise an AI powerhouse, right? So that concept started evolving, and we started a new venture called Groove to really start building up on that.
So tell us about Groove then. How are you guys monetizing? What's the business model?
Groove's monetization model is a little bit different and unique, I would say. Is We decided that uh, enterprises that need to build this technology or need help in all aspects of their AI journey, we need to build it on an outcome based model. So, in other words, our business model is only when the customer gets results, we earn their business, we earn their trust, we get paid. So, it's an outcome based business model that we have pivoted towards in the technology services. And to deliver this outcome based model, we use a lot of AI in house in order to build those technology services. And then we help these customers build this AI technology fabric within their business. So um, think about a customer that wants to start using AI for one of the use cases. Let's say I want to build more revenue in my business. Well, then how do we help them use AI to help build more revenue in their business? And how do we deliver an outcome? And only when that outcome is successful, that is when they see the revenue growth, is when we get paid. So it's a little bit unique model that we are trying to innovate on, and we're building a platform around it.
So in this case, I mean, you guys have taken money from investors, right? I mean, you guys did the seed, and then Series A was recently done too. But why not bootstrapping? Versus everything that you've done before was all bootstrapping. So why now that you guys had the money to push this forward, why taking money from outside investors?
So, Alejandro, I think bootstrapping is very hard, first of all, because you are trying to manage organic cash flow and do all of that. But there is actually a lot of benefit to having investors. If I had investors in my first company, I wouldn't have bootstrapped. I would have taken the money and had investors in the company. In our case, we got very lucky that we got two really seasoned technology investors in Mayfield and Cisco Investments that approached us and said, "Hey, we like what you're doing and we want to see how we can invest into this." And both of these investors really understand what it takes to bring enterprise adoption of a technology to life. And they not only bring the aspect of financing. I mean, yeah, sure, money is one aspect, but it is also their knowledge, their mentorship, their network. I mean, all these things are significantly more valuable, in my opinion, than just the aspect of taking money. So we got very lucky that we found these two really seasoned investors to come in and invest into Groove, and we are on an exciting journey with them. And every day that we talk to them, we come back with more energy on how we can go execute. So,
Where do you see all this AI space to heading? Obviously you seem to be very good at spotting trends. So where's your space as a whole going?
I think AI. First of all, AI is going to get democratized really well, and that's going to happen through software, through hardware, through models, through business use cases. So we are on this very initial path where AI needs to get democratized across the board, and that will happen. And the more AI gets democratized, the more pervasive it will become. Okay, and along the way, we are going to have some failures. Okay, but failures are the necessary requirement in order for AI to become pervasive. I mean, think about the time when in 97, 98, dot com just was booming, right? And how many companies went and did implementations of their website and e commerce portals, and how many of them failed? A lot of them failed. We're in that same cycle today with AI where 75, 80% of the projects on AI go from pilot to failure in enterprise. They There is a pilot, but they don't get succeed to that next phase. I think we are in that journey right now, but this is going to become pervasive, and businesses that decide to embrace this early are really going to benefit out of it because they're going to go through that spurt of growth, but also realize all the things that they need to build around it, such as trust, governance, guardrails, safeguarding data. I mean, this is going to be an amazing journey for enterprises in that process, and we are really here to help support that. We are here to help them in that journey. We bring a lot of talent within our team to help them in that process.
So let's double click on this too. Let's say you go to sleep tonight, Tarun, and you wake up in a world where the vision of Groove is fully realized. What does that world look like?
Well, I think it's a little bit hard to get a fully realized vision given where we are. But if I had to take like a 5 year or a 10 year journey into this, I think one, I look at Groove as a fully realized vision. One, I see us having exceptional growth in our business, which, by the way, we are seeing today. We are seeing amazing triple digit growths within our business today, and on a very strong base. So, to me, the fully realized vision is Groove is going to have not just exceptional growth, but also we will also be able to showcase tremendous outcomes to our customers. And our customers are comparatively going to be far more advantaged in their industry compared to other competition. And we want to be that differentiator in their business to be able to say, well, yes, we ended up using Groove that delivered an outcome based business model to us that truly helped us transform our business.
So let's talk about the because we're talking about the future. I want to talk about the past, but with a lens of reflection, because obviously now you've been a founder of multiple companies, and I like to put you into a time machine and bring you back in time. Let's say I bring you back to that moment where you are now, coming out of corporate, thinking out, of starting something of your own, and you're able to show up right there on the spot with that younger self. And you're able to give that younger Tarun one piece of advice before launching a business. What would that be and why, given what you know now?
It's interesting you asked me that because one thing as an entrepreneur I always told myself was no regrets on any decisions, right? So that was my motto. I think if I went back to my younger self, one advice I would give my younger self is be more bold, be more bold, you know, take more risk.
I love
And
that.
that is something that I tell myself today.
Wow. That's powerful. Well, Tarun, for the people that are listening that would love to reach out and say hi, what is the best way for them to do so?
I'm on LinkedIn. Um, Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I respond to all my messages on LinkedIn. I'll make myself available through email or a phone call or a conference call if required. But yeah, I firmly believe in the power of the network.
Amazing. Well, Tarun, thank you so much for being on the Deal Maker Show today. It has been an absolute honor to have you with us.
Alejandro, thank you so much for having me here. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your questions. I think they really made me think a little bit more around my journey as well. So really appreciate it. I really enjoyed this time with you.